Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Sasquatch Watch Radio with your hosts, Billy Willard and the Blog Squatcher. Strap in, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down.
All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Hey, guess what? It's our 1-year anniversary. I'm Billy Willard, your host, and bringing on the co-host, the blog squatcher himself, DB Donlin. How you doing tonight, DB? Oh, I think we might have lost him already. There he is.
Can you hear me at all?
Yes.
Yeah. My Skype is really freaking out. I'm trying to pull up the chat room. Maybe I just can't run them both at the same time. There are two different computers, but it still seems to be.
Huh? That's strange. That's strange.
Yeah, I've had bad service from this Verizon FiOS since the last time we had a show. I wasn't on last week, so it's been 2 weeks now that I've had this terrible service. So I'm sitting right here. I'm not 5 feet away from my wireless antenna, so this is the best I'm going to be able to get.
Wow.
And it's still in quite good enough.
And FiOS is supposed to be top of the line, man.
Yeah, you know, I'm call me a conspiracy theorist, but I called them and talked about, you know, maybe losing my phone line because, you know, I don't use it, so maybe I could just drop that. And they gave me this, well, no, if you drop that now, you can't have the deal we gave you before. You got to take a new deal, and everything gets more expensive. So it's cheaper for you to keep the phone that you don't need. So, but ever since then, somebody says, DB, hint, pay your phone bill. Well, see, I think it might be like that. Ever since then, I mean, I think they figured out, well, he must have Skype or something. So that's my conspiracy theory. They're jamming my Skype.
So that was your news for tonight, right?
Yeah, well, it's not true. I confess it's not true, but, you know.
Oh, well, at least you got that off your mind.
No, I didn't. I'll be brooding on this for a while. Can't understand why it's not working.
Yeah, well, you know, all good things always, you know, technology, what do you expect?
True.
Hey, man, we can't get a picture and we can't get anything else of Bigfoot. What do you expect? So,
yep, absolutely.
Anyway, we do have a very wonderful guest tonight. We wanted to definitely get someone that, you know, that a lot of folks look up to, and Thomas Steenburg has definitely done his work as far as you know, the books that he's written. He definitely does his research, that's for sure. Tons of information on the internet all over the place about Thomas Steenburg. I got the pleasure to meet him up at the Bigfoot Roundup up in Yakima, Washington, and just can't say enough good things about the guy. So, Thomas, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Doing just fine. Good to have you on.
Great to be here. Congratulations on being on for a year.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot. It's tough sometimes finding guests, but so far we have had a different guest for the entire year. We do the show once a week, and we have not yet repeated a guest.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's hard to believe there's that many Bigfoot researchers out there, isn't it?
That sure is.
And there's still more.
Well, you'll find them in every town and every corner, however, whether or not they're kind of weird or not. But.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of those, too.
Yeah.
But anyway, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you here. I know that there's a lot of folks that actually listen to this show that are actually what I'm going to call, you know, some new folks. we get a lot of new listeners here, and so what we're going to let you do is we're going to let you inform the audience of who you are and what really got you into this.
Well, I really was obsessed would be the word my father used to use with this mystery ever since I was old enough to read. I still remember as a young kid being told, hearing my father tell my mother, "Don't worry, he'll grow out of it," but it never seemed to happen. And I really didn't start actively researching until about 1978.
Okay.
That's how many years ago was that now? 78.
that's a few, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long time, and it's just flown right by. It's incredible. But you know, the more I looked into it, the more fascinated I became, and the more I talked to people, and the more I learned, the more I became convinced that there's got to be something to this, and there has to be something out there in flesh and blood, and I'm still convinced of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, just so you know, I did a real quick calculation. That's 31 years, Thomas.
31? Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness.
20s a while ago. Now it's in the 30s. Okay.
So that's a long time. It's definitely a lot longer than most in this. So we know you've been in around the corner a few times.
I've come across a lot of people over the years that seem really enthusiastic, and then after a couple of years and no real hard evidence coming up, they sort of lose faith and they kind of go off onto other, and as my ex-wife would have called it, more important things in life. But not me. No. I had to stay in it. Keep looking.
I tell you, I personally think that a lot of that, is probably due to the fact that, I mean, let's face it, when we go out and we research, whether it be day or night, I mean, really, how often does something dramatic happen?
Very, very rarely.
That's right. But, there's folks that think that every time we go out, something happens.
Well, that's the thing. And then you hear about people who seem to go out, and every time they do go out, something happens.
Exactly.
Of course, they don't get a picture out of that. Just or the stick had dropped or that nature. Doesn't get us anywhere, but at least it keeps them interested.
Yeah, it does, I guess. But it's it's. I guess it could be, it's boring at times. But just being out in the outdoors, really taking in the wildlife in the forest. I mean, that in itself is something I enjoy doing. So it's really not a big loss in my book.
Well, there's two things in life I always loved. One was the outdoors, and the other was a mystery, and the two just went together hand in hand.
There you go. That's exactly right. And you definitely have plenty of places that are mysterious up there where you're at.
In British Columbia, you bet we do.
Oh, yeah. That's some beautiful country, just vast amounts of wilderness there.
And there's still spots here, also in the Pacific Northwest of the United States, in my opinion, where I bet you there are places still where people haven't trotted yet.
No doubt in my mind. I tell you, when I visited that place for the first time back in May, I was simply amazed. It was the first time I'd ever been in the Pacific Northwest, and just seeing those Douglas firs, it looked like something from Jurassic Park, these vines and this moss hanging off of these just huge trees that, it would take 5 or 6 people to wrap their arms around this thing. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, and that tree was around when Christ was a little boy.
There you go. That's exactly right. So we don't have nothing like that in Virginia. I mean, we have some good-sized trees, but we don't have anything to touch that.
I tell you, though, in the east, though, you certainly got some areas that are pretty vast and pretty remote considering the population.
Yeah.
I got to admit, and years ago, when I first started this, I was very skeptical of mostly everything east of the Rocky Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
But having met people like yourselves and Don Keating in Ohio, if you know him,
yep,
and listening to the stuff they were uncovering, I got to admit, they got me scratching my head and thinking twice about the possibility of this animal existing elsewhere besides the Pacific Northwest.
Right.
I still think the answer's here, but if I do think it's possible that you will find something there too.
Right. Well, you definitely have the greater numbers. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but population-wise and density-wise, there's still plenty of room for an animal like this to hide. Even in New York State, I was amazed at how big the Pine Barrens are.
Oh, I tell you what, yeah, New Jersey, the Pine Barrens, you got the Adirondacks up in New York. I went up there on a Nezra expedition, and I tell you what, we went back on a road that, it wasn't a road, it was a snowmobile trail.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there was nothing back there. It took us an hour and a half to get, I think it wasn't 2 miles. That's how treacherous it was to get back there.
Yeah, and of course, eastern Canada, Ontario, has actually more square miles of wilderness untouched forest than British Columbia does.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Huge place. And the idea that this could be there, unfound yet, no. It could be anywhere in North America, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, and here in Virginia, I mean, we do have some areas, particularly down in the southwestern portion of the state. There, we still have a lot of areas out there. We actually have, we have designated wilderness areas that are quite large. That I mean, there could be a number of creatures in these areas.
In Virginia, you have the Shenandoahs, don't you? That's pretty well a wilderness area, is it not?
Yep, they run through there. You've got West Virginia there that's just got vast amounts of wilderness there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's plenty of places for these things to be. People, I think, sometimes look at the aerials or Google Earth or whatever, and they need to zoom in just a little bit so they can actually get an idea of just how vast some of these areas are.
One of the things I like about the West Coast forest that that's different from the East is we don't have the bugs you do. I mean,
I know. Good gosh. You just had to mention that. I am right now at this time, and everybody's going to laugh because they hear me talk about it all the time. I am at this time itching myself to death. I went out again this weekend, and I've got chiggers from head to toe. And those things just eat you up. I mean, it's just, you'll scratch the blood out of yourself trying to just itch these things. I'm never going to learn. If I would just take some duct tape and tape my pants around my boots, I could eliminate a lot of it.
Yeah. Don't ever wear shorts and short sleeves in the bush. That's
no.
I always go by that rule.
No, that's for sure. I mean, even just going through the thickets and the briars is bad enough. Just scar your legs all up.
Right.
But anyway, so Thomas, are you working on any new books or anything?
Well, I've got the material for another book, but I haven't really thought about putting another one out now.
Okay.
I've been helping other people with their books.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of editing work and work on Chris Murphy's material.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right now, there's a large Sasquatch Chronicles that may be coming out in the next couple of years. It's supposed to basically cover everything.
Right.
It's going to be massive.
Right. That'll be good.
Idea of just covering the history of this from the beginning to the present day.
Right.
And that's a task and a half.
That's definitely going to be a task.
And I've got the material, but I kind of figure people are getting kind of bored with the kind of books I've been putting out. So I really haven't had any indication that anyone would actually want to read another one. So I've been sort of holding off doing it.
Right.
Just because.
Well, I mean, right. Well, you helped Murphy with Meet the Sasquatch.
I co-authored Meet the Sasquatch.
Yeah. So,
John Green as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great book in itself. I got that too while I was down there. But
that was Chris Murphy's baby, though. From the word go, that was his idea. He wanted to put out something that would be almost like a textbook-like thing that they could use in education centers and stuff like that. And we thought it was a good idea, so we helped him along with it, and I think it came out pretty good.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's a great book. DB, do we have you back? Are you able to hear us now?
Well, I can hear you. How about you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you. I
figure
we better check in with you and make sure there haven't been any questions scrolling. I haven't even been looking.
There have been a couple. Now, Henry typed in a question, but then he said, oh, heck, I'll call and I'll ask it myself. So I'm taking that one off in case he does call. And I just saw Craig W. type in that he says, ask Thomas about his investigation of Randy Brisson, a.k.a. Hiker 11's Sasquatch claims.
Well, not mentioning any names.
Too late. It's too late. Craig already mentioned them, and then I did. Maybe I mispronounced.
We had I'll just say we had covered a ongoing, well, I can only speak for July 21st, 2009, in which, what time I caught an individual throwing stones. He was always going out with people and claiming that Sasquatch was throwing stones at them here, left, right, and center. And there's been a number of photographs that we know were doctored. And they asked me to go out there with them. I think the idea was they can get me to endorse it when they had it made. But I was suspicious right from the beginning. And we ran into a group from the BFRO who had come up there at his invitation. Mm-hmm. And it was quite obvious to me what was going on.
Right.
But I got to the point where this individual, I would always try to keep him ahead of me rather than behind me, because those stones always seemed to happen when he slipped in behind or to the flank or something like that. And and eventually a fellow by the name of David Hill, who's a member of the BFRO, I told him to stay 100 feet or so back while this was going on, just to keep the man in sight at all times. And he tried that, but it was almost the downfall was he couldn't stop himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just had to get that one last one in. And as we were approaching the main road again, it was 3 kilometers in and 3 kilometers back.
Yeah.
And I was looking in his direction when he took a step 2 back and winged another rock behind his back, which rattled off a tree, which I don't think he meant to hit. It was like a fastball pitch.
Yeah.
Wang.
Yep.
I just sort of shook my head, and everyone else did, but we never let on that we knew what was going on, because, of course, if you confront somebody with this, it just stops, and we wanted to see how far the show would go.
Right.
And we got back, and I read out my report and stuff, and my plan was, just, buddy, I caught you. Give it up. Yeah, that was it, but somebody posted on Facebook for that BFRO group, and then it took off from there, and well, some people, believe the guy, and they'll continue to do so, no matter what you say.
Right.
There'll be a case of them always going out and getting rocks thrown at them, but never seeing what's doing it.
Thomas, I can't tell you how, and DB knows exactly where I'm going with this. I can't tell you how refreshing it is to hear you tell us this, because that is the exact to the T same thing that happened to me and DB for probably a couple years.
We weren't quite as quick on the uptake.
No.
Well, you had somebody continuing on with a hoaxing thing, and you could never get them or catch them, or
we never could really catch them in the act until later, when a handprint was hoaxed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to be fair, we actually had some stuff we were very suspicious of well before that, probably about a year before that. But it's hard when you become somebody's friend, and you got a group of people and you start talking, and they go, "Oh no, he would never do something like that." It's something that you'll always hear. I just caution everybody out there: if you ever hear the words, "Oh no, he or she would never do something like that," well, maybe they will, because here's 2 stories about people who did.
Like this individual, names remaining unsaid, this individual, he's a hell of a nice guy.
Right, yeah.
Hell of a nice guy. I like him a lot. But publicity does strange things to people sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes the attention is more important than the research. That's my only explanation for what he was doing. And the sad thing is that people will now hear of incidents in Golden Ears Park and probably ignore it because of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've got no problem with Sasquatch being in Golden Ears Park. Right. And I have a few sightings report that have nothing to do with this individual that are probably authentic.
Right.
It may even be possible that when we first heard from this fellow, that the stuff he was finding then was authentic.
Right.
But for some reason, the attention became more important than the research. It's like Ivan Marks all over again, or the Freeman all over. And I knew Paul Freeman well. He was a hell of a nice guy, but he was a hoaxer.
Is Thomas giving you the cold chills over at DV? I mean, it's like, I mean, it's almost like you're talking about the same fella that we've dealt with.
And
I mean,
there's a common thread among all three of these people. They are all as nice as possible. Our guy would bend over backwards to do things for you, like he would he would bring you stuff. He would well, I think that's part of the deal. They're ingratiating for a purpose. In our case, they're trying to get in with already established Bigfoot researchers so that they can be in the inside. So I think that's one of the behaviors to watch for.
Yeah, they want to be in the attention. They want to be for lack of a better term in with the gang.
Yeah.
Right. And so it becomes more important to them than actually looking for the animal itself. That's the only thing I can think of. And when you get caught, well, then that's it.
Right.
You hope you're going to have that cloud over you from now on.
Right.
And the sad thing is, he may find something in Golden Ears Park one of these days, but if he ever comes out and says so, people are going to say, well, geez, how can we believe him?
Right.
And that's unfortunate.
That's the boy who cried wolf.
Right, correct. Right. And Paul Freeman was the best example I ever knew of this.
Right.
Jeff Meldrum has got me scratching my head in some of Freeman's tracks.
Yeah.
The ones I looked at, I thought he faked it, and he even admitted to faking tracks at one point.
Right.
His videos did not impress me, but you talk to him in a coffee shop or something like that, or you meet with him, and he'd take the shirt off his back for you, and help you out.
Yeah.
But again, you can't hoax.
Right.
If you're involved in research in this thing, you can't, one golden rule, not even as a joke,
right,
ever hoax anything.
Right.
Never alter evidence. Never, never, never.
Right.
And unfortunately, once you do that, then that's it, in my opinion.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, let me grab one of these callers. I think we all know who this first one is, Mr. Henry May down there in Mississippi.
Yep, it's me.
How you doing?
I want to say, first of all, it was an honor to meet Thomas at the Yakima Bigfoot Roundup and, of course, share a campfire with him for a couple of nights. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Hey, how you doing, Harry?
I'm doing good, Thomas. How are you?
Not too bad. It was a hell of a time in the Roundup. I loved that.
It was. It really was. I was wondering if you could tell us the Renee DeHinden Ashes story.
Oh, you really nailed me with that one. I never wanted to really tell that one publicly, but okay. Renee and I were good friends. And when I went to his memorial service, it was a very sad day. And I actually went back there a week later because I had made arrangements with Rennie before he passed and with his son Eric to purchase his Green Hornet camper truck. And you remember that truck he drove was kind of like a log house on wheels?
Yeah.
Beautiful thing.
Yep.
And I was going to take that off of Eric's hands for him, and we were trying to get it going again, and a couple of the battery cables need replacing. So Eric said, well, let's go to Canadian Tire and get this cable replaced. So I went with him, and Eric is a typical, country boy in Canada. He's got a pickup truck that's right up to your ankles in old McDonald's packets and empty French fry containers and milkshake truck. You're buried up to your knee in it when you're sitting in the truck. And I get in the parking lot. I said, Eric, for God's sake, you got to clean this truck out. And he goes, yeah, I know. Tell you what, we're right beside the garbage cans there. Why don't you clear this stuff out for me while I go in and grab the cable? So I did. And I was loading armfuls of garbage into the dumpster. And right in the middle of the seat, there was this little square, kind of like half shoe box.
Uh-huh.
I opened the box, and I said, well, this is nothing. This is dirt. And I had it right over the garbage can. And I'm looking at it, and I see these white specks in there. And I go, well, maybe these are seeds of some kind. I better wait. And I didn't. I was like half a second away from dumping it. I said, what's in that box there? I almost threw it out. And he turned white as a ghost. And he looked at me and he said, that's Dad.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Close. The throwing Reddy's ashes.
Oh.
In a garbage can at Canadian Tire, right? Well, that would have been my legacy if that had happened, I'll tell you.
Yep.
Yeah, I could picture Rennie up in heaven going, did you know what that Steenburg did? I really picture it.
Okay, I got Bill Green on the line with me. I know he's chomping at the bit to talk and ask some questions and stuff like that.
How you doing, Thomas?
Hello.
Thomas, so are you investigating any new Sasquatch sightings or footprints or possible photos or film footages or...
Is that you, Bill?
Whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, oh, hey, yeah. Well, the latest thing, it's been rather slow this summer compared to last summer. The last one of any significance actually occurred last April, south of Langley, where a lady going home to White Rock reported this large figure crossing the road in front of her car there. There has been another report. Remember the two we had in Mount Archibald last year? Well, there was another one earlier in the beginning of August of this year. However, we only heard about it secondhand, and the lady didn't take down any contact info. So I've been trying to find out who this person is, who apparently saw a Sasquatch while he was playing golf on the golf course there, and the thing was watching them from the wood side, from the edge of the woods, right at the bottom of Mount Archibald. So, again, unless I got contact information, it remains in the category of hearsay because I can't follow up on it until I find out who it is.
Right.
Yeah, are you currently looking into any possible photos or film footages that you might think might be authentic or possibly...
So far this year, all the into have turned out to be hoaxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we haven't got anything good other than blob squatch photos, which really don't amount to anything.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there was something on the Yahoo or Google News about a Yeti or a possible Yeti filmed in Poland, and looks interesting, but still subjective at best. But
a Yeti in Poland?
Yeah, it was also mentioned in Cryptomundo as well.
Oh, well, that's a new one on me. I haven't heard anything about that one yet.
Yeah. But, so are you planning to write another new book about Bigfoot, or?
No, I haven't really started anything. I've been kind of like putting it off. I haven't done it. I probably will before too long, but right now, no, I haven't got anything in the works, if that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's always stuff coming out about Bigfoot and stuff, and I tell you...
It's all over.
Sometimes I hate the politics of Bigfoot. I tell you, people bickering all over the place, and...
Oh, it's
I tell you,
like
all these forums, Thomas, I go to, it's like Congress, it's like, one side everybody believes in something, and then another side everybody's all arguing, it's just like, especially the MK thing, no offense MK, but, then it's about hoaxes, and then it's just about this, that. I mean, why can't everybody have a neutral debate about everything, just bang, 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 bang,
Bill, it has always been that way from day one.
Oh,
Even in the early days, you had everyone divided up into camps. You had your Peter Byrne camp, you had your Bob Titmus camp, you had your Rennie DeHenden camp, and it was like the three sides at the beginning of Operation Barbarossa just waiting to go at each other there. I mean, It was pretty bad. How the hell I ever managed to become friends with all these guys and never get sucked into their personal wars will always amaze me.
Oh boy!
I didn't, and I would do stuff with Rene, and Titmus knew about it, but he never held that against me, and vice versa. And Rene never held it against me, but the two men couldn't stand each other, and it's always been that way. But as long as we have, what I politely referred to, you've heard it referred to as the lunatic fringe involved in all this, and mainstream science avoids it like a 10-foot pole. I mean, controversy and always going to be part of it, and it'll never go away.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it never will, because the lunatic fringe will never go away, and that's the whole point.
Oh, you got that right, Thomas, by golly. We're still dealing with the memory of last year, and that's all I'm going about that, It's just, what happened to us a long time ago there,
Yep.
I'm still hearing about it almost every day, but I just say, hey, we just got to be one step ahead of these people and keep track of them, and,
Well, the only thing I can say, Bill, is if you ever get in a debate with somebody who's making a wild and wacky claim, they're making it up, and it's a hoax, or this, that, just stick to the facts.
Oh yeah, because when I first saw that costume in the freezer there, I mean, at very first, I was fooled almost. At very first, I was fooled because I looked at it, the face, there was something about that face that really got me tilting. Like, is this real or not? And then I didn't see any of the feet or arms, and that's what really kind of said hoax to me.
Yeah. Well, I kind of. As soon as I heard a certain individual was involved with it, I wrote it off.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I wrote it off right at the beginning. And I'd seen that costume before, so I thought I recognized it right off the bat. It's there's this company in California, I believe, that does these beautiful Halloween costumes, and they do a Bigfoot one as well, and it looked to me an awful lot like that one.
Yep.
You have to mail order these things, I guess. Yeah. And it looked amazingly like that. So I didn't take the Georgia thing too seriously at all.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
What bothered me is the way the media just sort of swamped to this.
Oh God! I tell you, Thomas, that in the media, it was like a media nightmare. I tell you, a lot of people, a lot of researchers, people all over the world were hurt by this, and it just, I tell you, it just was a nightmare, and these people are still out there. Bottom line, it's just I hope they get arrested or something someday. But it's just, like I say, the only thing they could get, and I'm not too legal, but like I said, is the only thing they could get is a misdemeanor or something like that, even if they get caught, Well,
the only thing you can't, there's really not much of a crime for telling a story. You'd like there to be, but it's really the law has no ruling on fooling people.
Yeah.
If you can tell a good story and the media falls for it, well, then that's ha-ha on them. Unfortunately, it tends to have the effect that when something interesting does come along, they tend to ignore it because they don't like getting their toes stepped on twice.
Yeah, but
and why they keep going after these whack job type stories and ignoring good stuff, I'll never figure out. I guess it's because it sells papers.
Yeah.
Or gets you airtime. That's the only thing I could. The wilder the story, the more people will watch it. If you tell a lie long enough, sooner or later people will start to believe it.
Yep.
That's you got to remember, to the general population, the majority, the overwhelming majority, who don't give Sasquatch 15 minutes of thought a year, who don't believe in the animal's existence, they put us all in that category.
Yeah.
As far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
You're looking for Bigfoot? Well, there's something weird wrong with you. So that's the kind of thing that happens.
That's right.
Can't get away from it.
That's right.
Bill, you sound a little bit muffled. Is there something wrong with your phone?
No, but there's one thing that I was going to say is that one thing is basically to go into a forum and joke and say, oh yeah, I got a Bigfoot body, and then come back later and say, oh, I'm just joking, ha ha. But when you go to the national public, like certain news organizations and do this, all this, that. You know, it just sounds like, you know, that's where everything got out of hand, you know?
Bill, you faded right out there. I could hardly hear you.
Yeah, we can hardly hear you, Bill. Something happened to your phone or something.
Unless Henry's phone, because me and him are on the same phone.
No, it's not my phone.
Now, I can hear Henry loud. Henry's really loud.
No, Bill faded right out there. I could hardly make out what he's saying. And I got a train going by.
Yeah, we got a train going.
I'm only 60 feet from the track, so...
Okay. Don't step out there now, Thomas.
Oh, it's nearly got me a few times, but I keep missing.
This is live radio for you.
That's right, live. All right.
Anything new happening in your area as far as Sasquatch activity or anything?
No, we did, interesting enough, have a sighting called in that occurred about 2 weeks ago down in the area of Danville, Virginia. It was a road crossing. Guy saw he said it was either a very large bear or a big hairy man. I mean, the fact that he thought it could be a big hairy man, I assume that it must have been walking upright. So we're still looking into that one, working on it.
Bears only walk steps upright, and they're very awkward steps at that. So.
That's right. So that's all we've had so far for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so DB, what's new in your research area? Are you just helping Billy out still?
I don't think DB can hear you, Bill, because you're muffled really, really bad.
DB, what's new in your research, or actually in your blog?
Not much, Bill. Not much, Bill. Thanks for asking.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm done, Henry, but it was great talking to you, Thomas.
Okay, Bill. Man, he really muffled out. I can't hardly hear him.
I know. I can't either.
Yeah, I can't hear him.
Yeah.
Okay, Bill. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Thanks, Henry.
And by the way, folks, let's let Bill be Bill.
Yeah, Bill's all right. Bill's okay in my book.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks, Thomas, and thanks for telling that story, and we'll talk to y'all later.
All right. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Let me see. I know who this one caller is. I'm going to leave them on mute. Let me grab this other one, because I'm not sure about this one. Area code 318. You're on the air.
Dylan.
Yes.
I'm just listening.
You're just listening. No problem. Put you right back on the mute there. All right. Any questions, DB, from the chat room? Have we lost DB? I think we did. Must have lost DB. You still here, Thomas?
I'm still here.
Okay.
I finally came back, but I'll tell you what, Skype is hit and miss right now. So are you asking for questions? I better get them out fast.
Yeah, you better.
Jim Footicus asks, what is the most exciting story Thomas has investigated in British Columbia?
The most interesting report that I've ever looked into didn't happen in British Columbia. It happened just outside British Columbia in southwest Alberta. It's called the Crandall Campground Incident. I don't know if you've heard of it, and I've written about it quite extensively. It happened in Waterton Lakes National Park, which is in the extreme southwest corner of the province of Alberta, bordering on the southeastern BC and northwestern Montana. Now, there were two couples staying in this campground, and they were playing cards one night. And the one couple decided to go off down to the public washrooms down the trail to brush their teeth. Well, as they were walking along this trail, this thing was standing on the trail, and they almost walked into it until it made a grunting noise that he later described as a throaty sound a bull makes when it's blowing air out of its lungs.
Uh-huh.
And Susan Ray Adams, his wife, was one of these, really scared type at night, and she immediately pulled away from her husband and yelled, "It's a blank, blank, blank bear." And this area is known for its grizzly population. Mm-hmm. And so she went running back towards the camp, and of course the other two when they heard her yell bear. It was like helter-skelter for the cars. But her husband slowly backed up and kept his eye on it, and he saw it walk off the trail to the left. Now, he got back to the cars. They were parked back to back. He tried to get into the car beside his wife, but she had locked the door, and she wouldn't let him in. I guess somebody had to be sacrificed. And so he ended up getting in the car with the other couple.
Right. And
they turned on the headlights of their vehicle, and this creature walked into the area illuminated by the lights, and it crossed the area illuminated by the lights from right to left. My measurements later on put it at about 80 to 85 feet away from where they were. Now, unlike most people, these folks actually decided to make a report to the park warden's office the next day, which is what we call rangers in Canada, national parks. And Park Warden Alan Dibb did an investigation. Matter of fact, Darwin Gillis, one of the two fellows, insisted on making a written report on it. They were perfectly willing just to hear the story and let it go at that, but he insisted on putting something down in writing, and I believe it's still on file with the warden's office in Waterton Lakes National Park. And he did everything. Alan Dibb, the warden, he told me he did everything to try and convince these people that they all, it could have been a bear. Bears walk up right when they're begging for food, blah, blah, blah. But they all agreed what they saw was not a bear. Both men were engineers, both women are school teachers. They actually ran into three other people in a pickup truck when they were driving around trying to see it again, who also claimed to have seen something strange, and they were looking for it as well. So we could possibly have an incident here with not 4 witnesses, but 7.
Wow.
But these people did not make a report to the warden's office, and I've never been able to track down who they are. Now, the interesting thing about this is, as years went by, I would be asked to go to talk to classrooms and stuff in Calgary area in Alberta when I was there to talk about the Sasquatch. And a few times when I went in there, Susan Ray Adams, one of the 2 women involved in this incident, was asked to come in too, and she would show up and she would tell the story about what happened, what they saw in Waterton Lakes National Park on the Main Long Week of 1988.
Right.
Now, to me, I think in my opinion, this story should be one of the classics, or should be recognized as one of the classics one of these days. But there is a possibility that the 3 people in the other pickup truck may have perpetrated some kind of hoax and were hanging around to see if their theatrics were successful.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one thing I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Since I've never been able to track down who these people are, we've never heard anything more from them.
Right.
If you look at the 4 witnesses and the descriptions they gave and how adamant they are that they saw what they saw, and how adamant the park warden's office was that they could not deter these people as to what they saw, and insisting on making a written report where most witnesses really don't want to tell anybody.
Right.
It was very impressive, and the area fit with their description almost exactly. I went down there, did all the measurements. I've visited the site I don't know how many times in a 10-year period, always going back.
Right.
And there was a follow-up incident with 3 boys and a man in Upper and Lower Twin Lakes, which is just a few miles northeast of there in Waterton Lakes National Park, where they claimed something had rummaged through the lean-to they were staying in, and they got a glimpse of it as it walked away.
Mm-hmm.
And the warden's office rushed out there when that was reported because of the Crandall Campground incident just a few weeks before. So, to me, so far, in my opinion, that's the most interesting one I've ever personally looked into.
Right. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and the one last year, Mount Archibald, wasn't bad too. 2 different witnesses on 2 different points of the road. One seen it coming up the mountainside, the other one watching it go down, 4.5 hours apart, and they knew nothing about each other.
Wow.
Yeah, that was on the Bridal Falls Forest Service Road on Mount Archibald 1 year ago now, as a matter of fact.
That's the kind that you like to get.
Yeah.
Because that makes it a whole lot more, credible when you hear of 2 separate people, don't know each other, different times, seeing something. It really drives it home.
Corroboration.
Yep, that's right.
when more than one person sees it and they're not related or
That's right.
or together in any way.
That's right. Let me see who this other caller is that's got their hand up. Caller from the 360 area code. You're on the air.
Good evening, Mr. Willard.
Good evening. Who is this?
This is Washingtonian.
Hey, Mike. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are you, Billy?
I'm doing just fine. It's good to hear from you.
Congratulations on your
Thank
1
you.
year.
Thank you.
And that guy that you brought out last May kind of came back. You heard about that, did you?
I heard about that.
Oh, well, it just
I'm
weekend.
sorry. I'm sorry that happened to you. I apologize.
It was like deja vu.
I'm sure it was. I think you got to meet Thomas too, didn't you?
Yes, I met Tom there at the roundup in May.
Yep.
And there were so many people there that I don't think I got a chance to sit down and talk with Tom, but I think we shook hands anyway.
Yep.
And it's good to hear Tom on the show tonight. Thanks a lot, Tom. I appreciate all of the information that you're sharing with us.
Oh, thank you there, Chief. What's your name again?
It's Mike.
Mike? Okay, and you're Washingtonian, are you?
Yes, sir.
That's right, okay. Yeah, I see you on some of the websites all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see me here and there. I don't participate a lot, but my interest is in there. So.
Okay, good stuff.
Yep. Well, cool. Do you got a question, Mike, for Thomas?
No, I can't think of anything specific that I wanted to ask Tom. I just wanted to say, don't get too frustrated out there on those forums.
Yeah, that's easy to do.
It is. It's too easy to do sometimes, but don't let it deter you from sharing some of the good information you've got.
Hell no.
I appreciate everything you share, and just wanted to say thanks.
No, on the pages, debate and question is that's research.
Right.
Accepting everything on face value, that you're not researching anymore, you're advocating.
Right.
So when people question, like I assume you're kind of referring to the Chehalis Sounds thing?
Yeah, that's one of them.
When I saw the coyote making those noises?
Yeah.
Boy, a lot of people were upset with that.
Yeah. I remember when that happened, and you mentioning that, and how a lot of people thought that no way possible. And
yeah, well, a lot of people put a lot of faith in those sounds.
You gotta say.
So did I before it happened. I thought the Wallop recordings and all those ones, similar ones, would eventually be proven to be Sasquatch too, because I couldn't figure out what it did, and I thought I knew every sound a coyote made. And on April 5th, 2006, I saw what made them. It was a coyote.
Yep.
Yep. And once you've seen something like that with your own eyes, then you know. Mm-hmm. And it's almost worse than seeing a Sasquatch, isn't it?
I know. It's kind of funny how in some of the web pages people are willing to accept a Sasquatch making the noise, but they won't accept a coyote. Kind of strange, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have questions, you should ask them, and I did make one major failing. I didn't get it on damn videotape. I should have. I've been trying now awful hard ever since to try and get one making that noise, but so far I have not been successful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, maybe one of these days.
Yeah, let's hope. Well, actually, I'd like to see a Sasquatch. If I go out there looking for a coyote, I'd rather see a Sasquatch.
Yeah,
exactly. There you go.
And no one will give one rat's ass about the Chehalis Sounds anymore.
That's right.
They'll be forgotten by then.
That's right.
Okay, well, I'll let you go, and I'll talk to you guys later. And thanks a lot, Billy, and keep it up. You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
For another year.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Bye-bye, Mike.
Bye now.
All righty, DB. Are you still with us, DB?
I'm hanging in.
All right. We can hear you.
I got more questions if you're looking for them.
You go for it.
Okay, Jim Footicus also asks, have you ever seen a Bigfoot yourself?
In all the time I've been out, I may have caught a fleeting glimpse once. And that was in 2005. I was taking a fellow named John Miles back to his place. He lives at 20 Mile Bay on Harrison Lake on the west side. And as we were approaching, I don't know what the official name of this mountain is, but we always call it Big Bald Head Mountain because that's what it looks like. There's a cut line that goes up the hillside on the east side of that mountain. And there's these large power lines that go right up the center of this cut line. You've seen them, you know, the large power lines you see going over crown land, going for miles. And right at the crest where this cut line went over the hill, there was a figure walking from the center of this cut line to the trees on the right-hand side. I could tell it was something or someone walking up there upright, but was too far away to see any details. So it could have been a man way up there, because there are power lines up there, and they have to do maintenance on them every now and then, I imagine.
Right.
But when we went up there, we didn't see any indication of a truck or a helicopter or anything else for that matter. So what a man was doing way up there, I don't know. And he looked awful big to me.
Right.
I could see him from the knees up. From the knees down, he was sort of like obscured just by the crest of the hill. He was just like over the crest that far.
Right.
And John Miles, the man who's with me, he saw it too. And it was out of sight within maybe 5 or 6 seconds. I just got the vehicle to a stop.
Right.
And it was gone. Now, if that was a Sasquatch, I've seen one. If that was not, I still have not seen one.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're in the same boat with me.
Yeah.
All right, what else you got there for us, DB?
Well, a fellow by the name of Spin Dave asks a question: if the numbers of Sasquatch greater than 6 would be a clan, has Bigfoot ever been seen in groups of 8 or more?
I have one account from Alberta near the Bighorn Dam area near Nordegg where one individual, a woman with her, who was a little girl at the time, with her parents, reported 5 of these animals crossing the road in front of them. Now, whether or not that's true or not, who's to know? She sounded sincere when she told me the story. I know of another account, again in the same general area, where a guy named Ronald Gamel reported 3 creatures crossing the road in front of them.
Wow.
Yeah, but the overwhelming majority seems to be of a lone creature seen by itself.
Well, yeah, most of the reports. I don't think we've gotten anything that I remember here in Virginia. Now, I did hear of what someone was calling a family group of them in West Virginia, and I believe that was on the BFRO site. Someone saw 3 up on a hillside. I think that's the most I have heard of in anywhere near this area. Yeah, and if the Albert Osman story is true, then that seems to indicate that was a family group. Yeah. And then there was a gentleman in Oregon who saw 3 of them digging in the rocks, going after pikas or some other little type rodent where there seemed to be a male, a female, and a small one. But other than that, usually most reports, the overwhelming majority of them is of a single creature that you just see for a few seconds before it disappears. Right. All right, DB.
One more question here from Spin Dave. Has there ever been a Bigfoot seen with a small amount of body hair?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I think most of the ones we hear of are usually, they emphasize covered with hair. So.
Yeah, they're usually pretty hairy from head to foot.
Yep. Got any more, DB?
Well, Andy Drew just asked, do you prefer trail cameras that use 35mm film or digital storage, or both?
35mm film, in my opinion, is best because of the negative effect, and you can do more stuff with it. But anything will do.
Yeah, we don't care how you get a picture of Bigfoot.
Get one.
Just get us one.
But I'll tell you, with these trail cameras, I use them.
Yeah.
And I've used them, but you got to remember, when you're putting these out, you're basically covering 100-foot square area and all that wilderness, hoping that what you're looking for is going to walk through that 100-foot space.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, in my opinion, your odds are better at having a camera in the front of your car and driving the roads at night, because you're covering a lot more of those 100-foot spaces at a time.
That's right.
You know, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It could. I hope it does. And it's worth doing. But I think the odds are, well, they're way up there about getting a Sasquatch in one of those things. I know I've tried, and many others have tried. Keep trying, guys, but don't get too disillusioned when it doesn't happen.
Yeah, we've got a couple out ourselves. You know, and they do, and I have to admit this, they do make a noise. Mm-hmm. However, you know, if one of these creatures, for whatever reasons, its senses are down, for example, it's been chased by dogs, or it's being, you know, for some reason it has to get out of an area, I don't think that it can have all of its senses to where it may not accidentally run in front of one of these cameras. And I think that's what we got to hope for. Yeah. Now, if one's cautiously walking through, sure. I'm sure that, you know, it's going to hear that trigger mechanism or whatever, and it's, you know, it's going to say, oh, you know, there's something over there. You know, whether they see it, hear it, whatever. I think we just have to hope that one's being chased by something or whatever and just runs in front of one of them.
And I have to admit, part of the reason why I say 35 millimeter over digital is because I'm slow to modernize. I've always been stubborn that way. I hate computers. I know how to turn them on and how to throw them across the room, and they won't do what I want them to do. That's about it.
Uh-huh.
And I don't have a lot of the fancy toys that some people have. I wish I did.
Right.
And so I was one of the last guys to really use snail mail when everyone else stopped. But to me, that's probably the only reason, because I could still get my hands on this stuff. The more expensive stuff, I don't even know how to use them, let alone get any results out of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes the old stuff is better, you know.
Yeah. But anything that helps. If you know how to use it and you can put it out, do it.
Yep. What else you got, DB?
Well, that is about it. Spin Dave asks, do you know of a bait that has any consistency in attracting Bigfoot? I guess he means that's been regularly successful in attracting Bigfoot.
As far as I know, no bait has ever attracted a Bigfoot, because we got no pictures of a big taking bait.
Right.
You know, some people claim it's been successful, but I kind of wonder what do they class as success?
Right.
The bait's gone. Okay. What took it? I don't know.
The bait's gone and they heard a noise, so that's
right.
Yeah, you know, not good enough.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm sure you've heard, Thomas, of someone just brought it up, of William Dranginis, the I Gotcha cameras that he's made. I don't know if have you heard of this?
I've heard a brief thing about it, but I'm not too familiar with it.
Okay. Well, anyway, he has developed a camera system. It's currently being used and tested by the Department of Game and Fisheries. So far, they've got nothing but good things to say about it. And basically, what it is a camera system that can be set up different ways. It can be set up with, you know, your normal motion detection type device. It can be it can use you know, pick up body heat. It can all be wireless. Parts of it can be buried underground. But the big thing about it is it literally has no sound whatsoever. He has completely encapsulated and sealed off all ultrasonic sound that triggers this camera.
Well, good. That sounds impressive. Rick Knoll has these styrofoam rocks.
Mm-hmm.
He hollowed out and he hides his cameras in those, and they work pretty good.
Yeah, I've seen that.
If you got stuff there that can eliminate the noise and the infrasound and all that kind of stuff, that all can do is increase your odds.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
All the power to him.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's a success. I know he's got a few of them out now, so time will tell. So hopefully he'll get something. DB, there wasn't any other questions, right?
Yeah, we're tapped out on questions.
Okay, all right. What we're going to do now, Thomas, is we're going to get into a lot of people like to hear different researchers' theories of what they think about certain aspects that we hear about these creatures pretty much on a daily basis. The first theory I'm going to ask you is migration. Do you think these creatures migrate?
I have no idea. To me, no, sightings seem to occur in the same areas time after time, season after season. There doesn't seem to be indication to me that they migrate at all.
Right.
So that doesn't mean that they don't. It just means I don't see any evidence of it.
Right. I would have to tend to agree with you. I mean, we have sightings here in Virginia that are year-round. I personally believe that a lot of it has to do with when we're out.
Yeah.
Are we traveling in the forest on the trails when it's cold in the late fall and winter? No,
yeah.
Not really. So I think the more people that's out, like the springtime and summertime, that's when the majority of the sightings occur. So
most sightings occur when Sasquatch come near people rather than the other way around.
Right.
Right. You look at my map boards and everything here, you'll see almost all of them are, lake shores, river banks, roadsides.
Mm-hmm.
There's vast areas of green there where there's not a single pin, and that's because there's no one there to see them.
Right.
Right.
They're
undoubtedly there, but you have to have people there to see them.
Right. That's correct. How about these? You hear people talking about tree formations and stick structures. What do you think about those?
I don't. To me, there's no indication or evidence at all of Sasquatch having anything to do with this.
Okay.
Same thing with nest building. Same thing with the twisted trees.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of a lot of people fighting twisted trees, and I've interviewed hundreds of people who say they saw a Sasquatch, but I've yet to hear of someone watch a Sasquatch twist a tree.
Right.
If these nests are Sasquatch related, I've seen a dozen of them myself.
Right.
But black bears will pull and make sort of like a nest thing to lay down in.
Mm-hmm.
Just normal forest debris, wind blown, heavy snow, frost. There's all kinds of things. Nature does play strange tricks with trees.
Right.
In the bush, especially in the Pacific Northwest, and I imagine in your area too. I mean, people think, well, what could have possibly done that? Well, you'd be amazed what could do that.
Well, a good example is here in Virginia, we have a lot of vines.
Mm-hmm.
And if a vine gets wrapped around a tree in a certain way, it can literally make that tree look as if it were twisted.
Mm-hmm.
Because the vine kind of grows into the tree.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of the most common around here.
I've seen trees grow up wrapping themselves around another tree. That's kind of strange the way that happens.
Right.
Yeah, but it does.
Yeah, it will. If it's trying to get to that sunlight, whatever it has to do to get to that sunlight.
Yeah. But nature plays all kinds of strange tricks. Whether or not Sasquatch has anything to do with any of this, I don't see any evidence of that.
Right. DB, did I see a couple questions roll through?
Shoot, can you hear me? It's really. I see one from Irish Guy. Where do you think the Bigfoot fits into the evolutionary line?
To me, the theory of the Sasquatch and what it is and where it came from, I tend to go along with the Gigantopithecus blackeye theory. Just because, to me, that's the one that makes the most sense. Now, I could be wrong on that. It may be more hominid than I particularly think it is, but based on what I've been told so far and what witnesses have told to me and the descriptions of the animal and what they say the animal was doing, I still think we're dealing with a large bipedal unclassified species of grade A.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could be wrong on that. I'm willing to admit I could be wrong on that. But to me, right now, that is the theory that makes the most sense.
Right. All right. Was that all of them in there, DB?
That's all that I've seen. I could have missed some because it's on and off again for me.
Okay. Well, if anybody had a question, feel free to type it back in there. We've got 25 minutes remaining, and I just remembered, I guess I should tell the telephone number just in case somebody wants to actually call in. So the phone number tonight, if you want to call in and ask Thomas a question, is 347-237-5070. I'll repeat that in case you want to write it down. The phone number is 347-237-5070. Thomas, another question would be that we hear a lot of talk about is, do you think these things just live out in the forest, or do you think they go into caverns? Do they go underground? What is your thoughts on that?
I've heard a lot of people suggest caves and things like that, and to me, we have a lot of cavers, and I've never heard of a caving group ever finding evidence of a Sasquatch in a cave.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that they'll use one out of convenience. I don't think they make a habit of it. They're not cavemen by any stretch of the imagination.
Right.
The few stories I've heard where it sound legitimate, where someone actually observed one sleeping, it wasn't in a cave or in a shelter or in a nest. It was just on the ground, sometimes under a tree.
Right.
I think these animals are just creatures of the backwoods, and they tend to stay away from the human population as much as possible. And they live out their lives going about their own affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get near people, sometimes they're curious about human activity.
Right.
They come around to nose around a bit, and that's usually when the sighting happens.
Right.
And they have uncanny, keen animal senses, in my opinion. Like, they probably have excellent hearing, excellent night vision,
right,
excellent sense of smell. And I've talked to so many people who told me that if they hadn't looked right at it, they would not have known it was there.
Mm-hmm.
Was standing that still. And of course, once the creature realizes you spotted it, it turns and it walks away.
Right.
And you just see the unbelievable for a few moments before it disappears.
Right.
So caves and stuff like that. There's a few old stories from the past, but again, other than being good stories, there's really no way to follow up on any of this stuff. But so far, I have not heard of anyone finding evidence of Sasquatch occupying caves. If anything, the opposite. They haven't found anything in a cave.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anything either. But you bring up a good point. I mean, these creatures seem to be masters of camouflage, and they can do that very well just by being completely still. One thing I've always found interesting here is we, well, I don't know about other groups, but our group in particular has had a couple sightings of gray-silver colored creatures.
Uh-huh.
And interesting enough, a lot of our trees have a gray-silver color. So, I mean, these things could be standing right beside a tree and just be so still you may not ever even, never see it.
I'm perfectly willing to say I may have been within 50 feet of a Sasquatch half a dozen times. I just didn't know it was there.
Right.
That the smell seems to be something that a lot of the older books give you the impression these things stink to high heaven at all times.
Mm-hmm.
I find the vast majority of reports make no mention of smell at all.
Right.
And when they do, it's usually the scent is detected in the area after it was gone.
Right. Right.
It may be a glandular reaction to when the animal's feeling stressed or something like that, like orangs and chimps have been known to do.
Right.
But there's really no way to know this, of course. It may not smell any worse than any other animal that hasn't walked through a river in the last 48 hours.
Right. Right.
I mean, their elusiveness by nature is the main reason we haven't been able to find more evidence than we have. I mean, they never come really out of the wood side to look at you. They stand like 30 feet back in the shadows, and then they look at you.
That's right.
Unless you happen to be looking right at it and see it move, you don't even know it's there until it's too late.
Right. Now, what about the theory? I'm sure you've heard this kind of rolling around the internet, or even heard it mentioned. A lot of folks believe that these creatures may have the capability of producing infrasound, which is the possibly the deep, whether it's coming from the gruntial area, deep chest cavity area. What is your thoughts on that? Do you think these things may be capable of that?
I haven't really given that too much thought, but anything that is possible. There are a lot of animals that have that give out noise on a pitch that we can't hear.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we get sense of, like, you get that feeling that something's watching you sometimes, and you don't know why.
Right.
The hair stands up in the back, and there's no explanation for it. That's possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Poor DB keeps getting booted.
But to me, what they are, what these things are, where they came from, what they need, what their future holds, none of that is relevant really until we prove that it exists.
Right.
We're still on question one.
Right.
Let's prove it exists before we go off into trying to figure out all the other aspects of their being.
Right.
A lot of people say, do these things need old-growth forests to survive? Well, how the heck are we going to know that until we know they're actually out there?
Right.
That you have to be able to prove its existence, because, quite frankly, anyone in a position of power, i.e. political or science, isn't going to give a damn until the thing is proven to exist.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, DB just shot me a private message. He has two questions here. The first one's from Andy Drew. He wants to know if you've ever smelled that sulfur-like smell on any of your outings.
There's been a few times. Well, the most recent one was a couple years ago. There's an American fellow who comes up here quite a bit named Bill Miller, who I do a lot of work with.
Mm-hmm.
And we were out one day, and we thought we could smell a sulfur-like smell, and we could not figure out where it was coming from. We thought there was something dead nearby. And the most interesting thing, after we were looking around, going into the bush line, and it seemed to get immensely stronger.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it started to dissipate rather rapidly. Now, obviously, if there was something dead light in there, it would not have dissipated that rapidly.
Right.
But all of a sudden, the wind didn't seem to change direction or anything. There was hardly any breeze at all. But it was, and then after about 5 minutes or so, it was gone. We couldn't smell it anymore.
Right.
Now, what it was, I have no idea, because we didn't see anything.
Right.
Yeah. But I've come across a few black bears that have been reeking pretty bad in the area, too. And then they move off, and the smell goes with them. But most of the time, there's no smell at all. But
right.
what was making that smell that particular day, I have no idea.
Right.
But I did smell something.
Yeah. Jim Footicus wants to know what success has there been with trail cams. Do you know of any?
No. So far, in my case, I've gotten a bunch of pictures, a lot of pictures of crows.
Yep.
I've gotten a few pictures of deer.
Yep.
Got one of Bill Miller running away from the camera when he was setting it up. One of me coming up to check it out. But as of Sasquatch, no, we haven't gotten anything like that. And I've seen a few things on the internet where you get a bit of hair here in the view, or a blob squatch or something. But as far as I know, there has not been a good photograph taken with a trail cam at all.
Yeah. I don't know of anything that's earth shattering. I mean, we've had some, my measure of success. My measure of success with our trail cameras has been pretty much the same as yours. Other than we get the occasional interesting wildlife pictures, and we actually set ours on video mode. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if it's open to interpretation, to me, that's not good enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
If we get a Sasquatch in, we got to know it's a Sasquatch.
Right.
Not it might be a Sasquatch.
Right.
Right. That won't be good enough.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I put mine on video.
It is the impossible task. You got to get one right in the center of that 100-foot spot that you're covering in all those thousands and millions of acres.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
And it's a daunting task, but keep trying, and hopefully it'll happen sometime.
Yeah, let's hope. We can only hope. Yeah, we have gotten, owls. We've gotten fox. Of course, the occasional squirrel playing with the other squirrel and things like that. And we last week got a person who we don't even know who it was out there walking around. They found the camera. So now we know we need to be careful and lock everything up. So, but that's about it. Do we still got you, Thomas? I think we might have just lost Thomas.
Well, let's see if you still got me.
Yep, I hear you. I just heard a clicking noise, and
Thomas is gone.
I think we might have lost Thomas. I'm wondering if I should hang up here and try to call him back. I remember he did mention that he had some connection problems back, I guess, about a week ago. So if you want to talk about something while I'm gone, I'll try to retrieve him.
Okay. Well, I did think of something. Of course, I'll probably disappear as soon as you're gone. my connection. But I did think of something as you guys were talking. You were talking about Bigfoot in caves, and that reminded me of one story that I've always found really entertaining. I mean, I'm not vouching for the story. I don't know whether it's true or not. I think it's in Robert Alley's Raincoast Sasquatch. But it has to do with a guy who is out hunting, and it starts to rain, and he finds a cave and darts into it to stay out of the rain. And it's a small cave, but it's big enough for him to sit down in, and he's got plenty of room. And he notices that there's a line of bones, like the femur bones of deer, but they're arranged in a line. You got him back.
I got him back.
You were just there. Where was I when we got cut off?
We were talking about trail cams.
Right.
And I think we were just about done with that. And DB, I think, what was you were just talking about something, wasn't you, DB?
Yeah, that's okay. Carry on.
Okay. All right, was there any other questions before I carry on?
Well, somebody asks, what is Tom's most frightening moment in research? That was from USBRA Radio.
Well, are you talking in general or Sasquatch-wise?
Well, probably Sasquatch-wise, but maybe, you know, if there's something really good. I mean, what they really want is a good story. So what's your best story?
Well, the scariest thing doing research that happened to me in 1986 was up around not too far east of or west of Lillooet. I had an encounter with a grizzly bear. I got chased up a tree by this bear that actually pulled me down about 6 feet or so when it let go. And I went back up the tree. And when I was up in the tree and looking down, I realized it was a grizzly bear, not a black bear. And it lumbered off after about 15 or 20 minutes there at the bottom of the tree. And I came down about an hour later. When I got back to the truck, which is where my rifle was, I realized then when I got back to the truck I was bleeding.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and the only part that got through to my flesh was 2 claw marks in my lower back. But the day pack I was carrying was absolutely eviscerated. I mean, it tore it right open. I still keep that pack. It's kind of a reminder that, you know, when you're in the woods, you're not the top of the food chain.
That's right.
I mean, the Pacific Northwest of North America is a wondrous, glorious place to do research. And it's a great place to visit, but it is wilderness, and it's not for the timid. You have to realize when you're out there that there is a chance you could run into something that may try to eat you.
Right.
If it can. and that is the scariest thing that's ever happened to me, was being clawed by a grizzly as I climbed up the tree. Why it didn't go for my legs rather than my pack, I don't know to this day, but I'm not complaining.
Was there food in your pack?
No. The only thing that was in my pack was my notebook, my camera, an extra pair of binoculars, my magnifying glass, a small pocket tape recorder, and spare film, because I was still using 35mm film in that.
Right.
Yeah, I think he just thought he was going to get you that way. He looked at that and he said, that's where I can get him. I'll get him with that. And
yeah, well, what happened was the next day I went back to the area with a member of the RCMP and a guy from Fish and Wildlife, because there hadn't been a grizzly seen in the area for a while. We found a deer carcass buried about 100 meters away from where this attack occurred. and it was either a deer that it had been scavenging on, or it had claimed or had killed and was, and you know, they cover it up and come back to eat later. And when I got too close to her food, she simply charged.
Right.
Yeah, and I just had time to scramble up this tree, and he pulled me down, and I heard it before I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulled me down, and I got my arms all scratched up from the branch and everything. But then for some reason it let go, and I went right back up the tree. I mean, it's amazing what you can do when the adrenaline's pumping and you're 20 years younger.
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah. Yeah, and that is the most frightening thing that's happened to me in the bush while doing research.
Right.
That was in August of 1986.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would have been pretty frightening there.
It was. I mean, I was shaking for, well, you know, I couldn't stop shaking for the longest damn time.
Well, you said you didn't come down out of the tree for an hour.
Yeah. I mean, it was gone. It was gone. I just said, I'm going to sit up here for a while. I didn't come down for a bit. Yeah. And I came back down and went back to the truck. And the truck was only like maybe 150 yards away, parked.
Right.
And my rifle I was carrying with me at the time was in the truck. So
right.
I was up there, and it was a clear-cut area,
yeah.
you know, where some logging had been done not too recently. So running into a bear there was totally unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're always hoping to see one of those stumps moving, and it's a Sasquatch. What you don't want to see is a stump moving, it's got claws, and it's coming at you.
yeah.
But that is the closest I've ever been. Now, a couple of years ago, with Bill Miller, we came across another grizzly, and this thing was huge. He was Kodiak proportions, at least, and we were in the little six-wheel carrier going up the BR 1500 Forest Service Road off the east side road of Harrison Lake. And I thought it was a stump at first, and Bill started videotaping it because he thought it might be a Sasquatch sitting there. And suddenly we realized there's a big head in the middle of this stump, and it was another large grizzly looking right at us. And we could tell he was trying to decide what he was going to do, because he turned to his side and gave us that nice flank shot so we could see how big he was.
Yeah.
And here we are sitting there. If we're going to turn around, we have to do some sort of like a multi-point, 3-point turn to try to turn this carrier around.
Right.
But instead of charging, he dove into the ferns off to the side of the road there, and it was almost like he dove into water. He disappeared. So we kind of decided to beat a dignified retreat at that point because we didn't know if he was trying to flank us or whatever, but we came back down. And that's the largest grizzly I've seen in the bush so far, and that was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, at least we don't have those around here. Well, the only thing we got to worry about around here is the black bears, and typically they're more scared of you than you are of them. So
90% of the time that's true, but there are actually more people killed by black bears every year than grizzlies.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that probably is accounted for, getting between them and a cub too.
Oh, that kind of thing happens, or you frightened it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a time to play dead, and there's a time to fight.
That's
and,
right.
If it's a close encounter where you've just startled the animal and he's charging you, that's the time to play dead if you can figure this out. And you may get away with being bitten or swatted once or twice, and hopefully you haven't been damaged too much when it leaves.
Right.
But it's a predatory attack you have to fight, because if you don't, you're going to die.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. Let's see. We've got about 6 minutes left. Let's see here. Was there any other questions, DB?
I haven't seen any.
Okay. Well, let's get back to my little line of questioning here. There are some folks, Thomas, that believe these creatures may have the ability to see in the infrared range. What do you think about that?
I have no idea. I don't know of any animal that can see in the infrared range.
Well, I think maybe I should rephrase that. In other words, as we know, most of the night vision.
Yeah. I mean, in other words, their eyesight's like what ours would be if we were using a starlight scope.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's night vision. Many animals have that ability. Yeah, well, I believe the Sasquatch does too.
Right.
Yeah, just because so many people have reported that when they shine a light in its face, the eyes glow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get these orangey white eyes looking at you. That's a pretty good indication of night vision.
Right.
Yeah. We have it too, but not nearly as much.
Right. That's right. How about the gosh, I had this other question right on the tip of my tongue. It was a good one too. I hate it when I do that.
Well, if you're on the subject of eye shine, how about the people who have seen the eyes that seem to be glowing independently? What do you think that's all about? Without any source of light.
To me, eye shine is actually eye reflection, and if they're seeing the independence, they're getting a reflection from something. Just because it's not something you're holding in your hand in your car lights. It's obviously reflecting for some reason. I don't buy this, eyes glowing like a pen light on their own accord. I tend to put that stuff into the lunatic fringe category.
All right.
The only animals I know of that have self-illumined eyes are deep sea fish from the depths of the oceans where the sunlight doesn't penetrate to.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to. I can't remember that question to save my life. It was a good one that I thought of back a few times back, and I was going to ask it, and then we got sidetracked. I forgot what it was, but I remembered it was a good one. I said I got to remember to ask him this. Oh well, maybe it'll come to me here in the next couple minutes. DB, do you have any questions for Thomas?
Well, we could always ask JC's favorite question. He actually has a new one now. He wants to know who the hottest female Sasquatcher is.
I am not going into that minefield.
Maybe you might, just take a step in there and see what happens.
I am not going to I'm not going to even slow step through that minefield.
Okay.
You got to burn too many bridges on it.
Yeah. I'd rather go through a narrow street with the Taliban on both sides of me than answer that question.
Oh God!
Oh, I got to tell you, in the last 10 years, it's been a real surge of female researchers, which I'm happy to see.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
When I started, the only one I knew of was Barbara Wasson Butler.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some work with her. Bobby Short's been around for a while, but I've never really met Bobby Short so far. Diane Stalking now lives in Oregon.
Yep.
I like her. She has a common sense approach to this, which which kind of reflects my own, and I really admire her. But there are so many in there now that answering a question like that one. Well, no way. No way. I'm not going there.
He wasn't going to touch that one.
No.
That's asking for trouble.
Yeah, JC just wants to know so he can figure out who he's going to ask to marry him next.
So he wants your opinion on who he needs to ask. Oh, goodness. Well, we've got a couple minutes left. My brain I just ain't going to remember that question, which really upsets me because I know it was a good one.
I know a lot of people in this field are getting frustrated.
Yeah.
A lot of people are getting, disappointed that nothing really substantial has happened in a while.
Yeah.
All I could say is to that is things will happen when we make them happen.
Yeah.
So don't give up or get too downhearted. I mean, I've been at this now for 30 years now, and I'm still as enthusiastic as I was from day one.
Yep.
90 seconds of what?
90 seconds left.
Oh, okay. Who the hell was that?
That's that British lady.
Tell John he needs to ask her to marry him. The British lady. She could keep him, she could make it so that he makes it on time to all of his appointments and stuff.
Yeah.
There'd be an upside on everything.
Well, it's been great, Thomas. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
No problem.
I kind of called you last minute, so I appreciate it.
No problem. And again, congratulations on your first anniversary.
All right. Well, we appreciate it, Thomas, and hopefully you'll come back again one time when we may ask you to come back.
Okay, anytime, boys. Just give me a
All
call.
right. Thanks
All
a
right.
lot, Thomas.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, DB, we have another one under the hat, and
yeah, that makes 52, right?
that'll be 52. I'll have to go back and count, but I'm pretty sure you're right on that.
But yeah, somehow they all happened.
But before we cut out, I just wanted to say a big thanks to everyone listening. And without you all, we wouldn't have been here for a year. So thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll see you next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay, we're off live.
You just snuck that in under the wire. Hey, I got to finish that story. There's a couple of people who were saying, like, finish that damn story you were telling. And
okay,
I'm almost done with it.
That'll be a
I know
good
you've
thing
heard
to do
this.
on the archive.
Yeah, I mean, I actually might have told this on the show before, but it's about the guy who's in the cave because it's raining, and he looks down and he sees this line of bones, like deer femurs. And he's like, what the hell is that? You know, that's strange. And then while he's sitting in there waiting for the rain to ease up, in comes this Bigfoot, and it's not that big a cave. So, he's like really close to this Bigfoot, which sits at the edge of the cave, like right next to the doorway out. And it just stares at him. It gives him the stink eye.
Right.
So the guy's like, I think it wants me to leave, but the only way I can get out of here is to squeeze right next to it.
Right.
Out of here.
Right.
So he just swallows his fear and does it. And it doesn't move, it doesn't touch him, it lets him leave. But, that's the story of a Sasquatch in a cave. I mean, he was
I do remember. I do remember you telling me that one. I think I do remember that.
But why? The question I was getting was, well, why was it collecting the femur bones? Well, I mean, if that story's true, we'll never know why it was collecting the femur bones.
That's right. That's right.
Because it wasn't giving out that information.
Right. All right. Well, I guess we've wrapped up another one.
Yep.
See what we can get on next week, and hopefully we'll just keep on trucking.
Yeah, here's to another year.
That's right. Let's see. Do I have anything really good here? I gotta find something really good. Here we go. I don't know. That might have been the wrong sound. That's a bomb. So
yeah, we bombed there. we bombed.
But
we need
anyway.
fireworks.
Well, hey, I guess it's better than this one.
Oh man. Where are you getting that stuff? That's an old.
That was a long flush.
Yeah. That probably needs some work.
All right. I guess that's enough of the trash. All right. Well, good night, everyone. We'll see you next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Good night, DB.
Good night. See you all next week. Thanks for listening.
A legend silently stalks the forest around the world, leaving giant man-like footprints in its wake. Skeptics scoff, while the true believers search for the answers, and those who have seen it will never forget. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, Blog Talk Radio. Billy Willard and the Blog Squatcher present Sasquatch Watch Radio. Your hosts Billy Willard and D.B. Donlin bring you 60 minutes of the latest news and information, newly discovered evidence, and interviews with those searching for the truth and those who have seen it. Do you believe? Want to know the truth? It's out there waiting. Monday nights, 9 p.m., Blog Talk Radio. Sasquatch Watch Radio. Sit down, hold on tight, get ready, because it is about to go down. blogtalkradio.com/Sasquatch Watch Radio.
This will be your year, and it starts at Laurel Ridge. You've had a taste of the real world, and now you want more. With the right training, degree, or certifications, you'll have more skills, more earning power, more opportunities in industries that are just waiting for you. Welcome to the year of you. This is your time at Laurel Ridge Community College. Visit laurelridge.edu/pathways. That's laurelridge.edu/pathways.
Did you know a single employee can spread a virus to up to 50% of shared surfaces? Lysol Pro Solutions Cold and Flu Portfolio quickly kills flu, RSV, and COVID-19 viruses when used as directed. Stock up.